I'm Michelle Miller, co-host of CBS This Morning, Saturday. Wanderlust is leading us to revisit some of our favorite places in the world. We first traveled to the 100-year-old Zion National Park, a stunning sight to behold. Jeff Glore takes you on a tour of the park's epic trails, climbs, and river walks in southwest Utah.
We are headed out here to Canyon Overlook, looking down Pine Creek Canyon.
Our trip to Zion began at the park's awe-inspiring Canyon Overlook.
You've got 9 layers of geology.
You are looking at more than 250 million years of history from top to bottom.
When you come through the entrance of the canyon, it's just like, wow, what planet are we on here?
Good one.
Yeah.
These rocks have given Jeremy Collins both his obsession and his profession. He's among the world's most recognized at free climbing and landscape sketching.
Well, I started drawing the same time you did in kindergarten and just never stopped. And it's gone on to define my whole career. That's how I do my storytelling.
Collins has traveled the world to climb mountains from China to Venezuela and the Arctic Circle, but always returns to Zion.
You spend enough time in a place and it becomes home, and that's Zion for me.
And now stars in a new documentary celebrating the park's centennial.
Like the layers of rock here, there's layers of stories about Zion.
You get lost sometimes.
Yeah, you go into the zone, the world disappears for a minute. And I think anyone wants that experience.
These days, more than 4 million visitors come to Zion every year looking for some version of the same experience. They follow Zion's scenic drive, hike to Angel's Landing, and walk the Narrows.
I'll spend time working in the visitor center, maybe some time roving trails.
Park Ranger Darcy McKinley Lester started walking us to her favorite spots, the Emerald Pools.
You just got to be careful of spines.
Along the way, we found a snack.
All you got to do is
Little prickly pear.
cut it, split it open, and then once you get the skin peeled off, you've got this beautiful fruit on the inside there.
Reminds me of pomegranate and strawberry.
Want some more?
Yeah, I do.
And this is it, my favorite spot right up here. You'll sometimes see a mule deer walking through here because it's green year round, so they can always find food. It's kind of a little sanctuary for everything that's here.
But that's the thing about Zion. You've got waterfalls and desert.
Yep, you have these 2 ecosystems meeting up, and so you can also look up or look out and you can see more of the desert, but right here, you're in that little oasis of water that you don't always find in a desert landscape.
That water from the Virgin River carved Zion's epic canyon. But this area wasn't well known until 1904, when this painting was featured at the World Fair in St. Louis. It was so stunning, the story was many didn't believe it was real. In the 1920s, the Union Pacific Railroad launched a very successful campaign to market the park, featuring co-eds dressed in the latest fashionable hiking gear. Pictures were published as far away as London. A tunnel that allowed far more to access the park was completed in 1930. A shuttle and tram system was introduced in 2001.
You guys are obviously going somewhere that we are not.
You're probably going the same spot, just a different way.
There is no tram that goes to the places Jeremy Collins prefers.
I'm going to follow your route.
This can get pretty mean in the spring.
I would imagine doing this when it's rushing.
Oh yeah, grabbing at your knees. Still cold.
Yes, it is.
He took us to the climbing wall called Moonlight Buttress.
Watch out for this yucca here.
Oh yeah.
It looks mean. You're looking for a particular challenge. Like, is it something that I can free climb? For me, I'm a free climber. Like, I like to use my hands and feet, not my gear.
When climbing is your passion, an opportunity like this can't be passed up. Although this one wasn't necessarily park approved.
Dude, be careful. You just can't resist, huh?
Well, if I'm not going to get to climb while we're out here, at least I can stress you guys out. I've had experience climbing in here in the park when I'm all alone, and even though I felt like I was on fire, it was also a pretty special experience just having the place to myself.
Do you like punishing yourself?
I think Anybody who's climbing cracks has a little bit of a masochistic bent.
Zion National Park may be turning 100, but as Collins is happy to tell you, it never gets old.
I would say, if you find a place you love, keep going back. Wait 5 years and come back, you know. Develop a relationship with that place, because when you have a relationship with a place or a person, you want to take care of that thing.
Coming up, we travel through the authentic American West by train. We'll be right back. A train that brought settlers and prospectors through the American frontier almost a century and a half ago is still chugging along, taking railroad enthusiasts and fascinated tourists on a unique journey through the American West. Barry Peterson shows us how the passion of a few people helped the railroad survive.
This was once the sound and fury of the West. A wilderness conquered by steam and coal. And in this remote part of Colorado and New Mexico, on the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad, steam and coal will take you to the West that was. So this really settled the West, these railroads.
This settled the West.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And do we see what it's like today?
We'll see the world as it existed 140 years ago.
John Bush is president and general manager.
No paved roads, no power lines, and no parking lots. This is essentially a time capsule of 64 miles of 1880. And once you get out of town, it is the authentic West. Not the Hollywood West, but the real West, the way it actually was.
Cell phones, smartphones.
None of that stuff works as soon as you get out of town.
Its roots go deep, built to bring prospectors for the silver and gold rush of the late 1800s. Taken over in 1970 by people who wanted not just to preserve it, but to give others a railroad experience from a century gone by. All for tickets ranging from $100 to $200 for a 6-hour trip.
People begin to slow down. You know, we see the West here at 12 miles an hour. And for a long time.
Retired chef Chris Carlton of Corpus Christi, Texas, saw much more than just scenery. When you look out across this countryside, do you think you would ever want to come across this thing in a horse or a wagon?
You know, it gives you a really thoughtful mind of how those people made those decisions back 100 years ago. What made them come this way and obviously endure what is just unbelievably splendid, dangerous, fantastic country.
In its time, the steam engine was the peak of high tech, the 1800s version of the 747 or the space shuttle.
You look at a computer now and, well, some wires go in or some signals go in and some stuff comes out, but you can't tell how it works inside. Here, if you look at a steam locomotive, oh, this rod is hooked to that piston, and when that moves, then this turns, and when that turns, then this does that. And you can walk yourself through it.
Those who drive them say they have the rhythm and the soul of a living thing. For 24 years, Carlos Lamas has been an engineer, the job millions of children have dreamed of doing.
Hundreds of people wish they could do this. We do it on a regular basis. It really is the coolest thing on the planet. It really is.
And when you make this thing move, you must feel like you're king of the world.
Yes, I do. I believe I'm king of the world.
And the railroad is also an economic engine for the area, pouring $15 million a year into the local rural economy, with jobs on the train, fixing the rails, and refurbishing old cars for a new career back in service. It was watching trains and steam engines as a child that captivated John Bush for life and made him jump at the chance of taking over here 7 years ago. And how many of us can say this?
When I first started doing this, I actually wanted to do it enough that I finally got to where I found it boring. That never happened. That never happened. It is still fascinating, and for me, it's great. I've literally gotten to get paid to do what I wanted to do.
It is said that the wail of a train whistle can trigger a longing for a journey, for an adventure, and here for a steam Goliath taking us places we never dreamed we would see. For CBS This Morning, Saturday, Barry Peterson, riding the rails across the West.
After the break, we travel to Italy, where some home buyers are finding a crazy deal. Is it too good to be true? We'll be right back. In parts of Italy, homes are practically being given away with a price tag of €1. That's right, but the deal comes with a catch. Seth Doan takes us to Sicily.
It's house hunting for the brave.
The condition it's like you can see it's not the best one.
But Justina Spurka, who's from Poland, came hoping to find a hidden gem.
There is a lot of original elements like flooring.
Flooring is beautiful here.
Yes.
And while some of the decorations or details may not be ideal, at least here the price is right. In Musomelli, a hilltop town in the heart of Sicily, houses are selling for €1. Even with an unfavorable exchange rate, that's about $1.20. So far, the city has helped sell about 100 of these houses.
I'd want to go to this house.
This castle.
A castle.
And they have 100 more to sell.
We have this house for
The goal is to revive the rundown center of this remote town.
That's another €1 house. This is a €1 house.
€1 house. The 22 is a €1 house.
Another one there.
Yeah, another one.
Tati Negrelli manages the program.
The house become yours, so you can do everything you want with your house. You can sell your house, you can make a shop, you can make a B&B, a hotel.
The fine print, you have to fix it up within 3 years.
If someone owns this house, why would this person sell it for €1?
Because in Italy, if you have more than one house, you have to pay a lot of taxes. So they prefer to sell houses and not pay taxes.
The houses need a lot of work, more than many existing homeowners want or can afford to do. But it's a different calculation for foreigners.
The woman who bought this house lives in the San Francisco area, and she's become a sort of ambassador to this place. Now, a number of her friends and family are buying here too.
We reached some of them by video chat in San Francisco.
Did you all think that you would be homeowners in Sicily?
Never.
In all, Rubia Daniels convinced friends and family to buy 13 homes in Musomelli.
What was the pitch, Rubia?
Good food, good wine, good coffee, good gelato. So it wasn't very hard to convince everybody.
They explained even with about $3,000 in closing costs and tens of thousands in renovation work, it's still a deal.
Imagine we live in the Bay Area where, buying a home is almost out of the question for most people.
Musomelli is one of about a dozen towns across Italy to test this out.
Nice house.
Thank you.
Can we have a look?
Of course.
Go in.
Come in.
And early adopters have become role models. Nina Smiths and Bert von Bellingham read about the program in Belgium and about a year later live here.
I found a lot of things in the house. I recovered them, I cleaned them, and I use them.
How different does it look now from when you first bought it?
It's impossible. It's
unrecognizable.
Yeah.
They wound up paying a bit more for this place, which has a stunning view, and did almost all of the work themselves.
There weren't nightmares of trying to figure things out, buying something, fixing stuff?
No. You got everything here. You got everything, and everybody helps you. Bene.
They say what's important here is the buongiorno they hear from the neighbors, the slower pace and sense of community.
How do you feel here?
Happy and relaxed. Yes, this is life.
It's a richer life at a much lower cost.
The New York City subway system grew from a single 9-mile line to more than 800 miles of track and 472 stations. But the system has a secret. Chris Van Cleve got a key to open its doors.
Our ride back in time starts at the Brooklyn Bridge subway station as we board this 6 train. Stand clear of the closing doors, please. Next station stop, 1904. The New York City subway opened to huge fanfare. Stretching 9.1 miles, it boasted 28 stations between South Manhattan and 145th Street, costing $35 million, or about $972 million today. Construction was completed in just 4 years.
This is a station by design unlike any other?
Absolutely, by design. This is this beautiful, we call it the jewel in the crown.
Polly Desjardins is a subway historian who joined us on the short ride to that crown jewel, the long closed and largely forgotten City Hall subway station, New York City's very first subway station.
So this was truly the only station that was designed by the architects. They were employed at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, and they brought those church sensibilities downtown. In fact, I've heard this station be referred to as the chapel in the round.
It was from here Mayor George McClellan drove the city's first subway car uptown. The station featured electricity, a rarity in 1904 New York, chandeliers, yes, chandeliers, sweeping tile arches with vaulted ceilings, and stained glass lit by skylights. The sculptor who made these plaques would go on to carve Mount Rushmore. 115 years later, the station shows its age. Much of the stained glass is broken. Its ornate ticket kiosk is long gone. So are the benches. But it remains remarkably regal.
You are standing in the beginning of it all.
Conchetta Bensavega runs the New York Transit Museum.
When the subway first opened, it was this sort of just incredible spectacle and this truly an engineering marvel. And very shortly thereafter, it became a habitual necessity for New Yorkers.
But surging demand doomed the City Hall station. The platform was built for 5-car trains, not 10. Its one track meant no express trains. And when a third door was added to subway cars to move more people through, the curved platform became a problem. It left quite the gap to mind. In 1945, the City Hall station closed to the public, and this crown jewel turned into a bit of buried treasure.
What is above us?
New York City Hall. I think it's the parking lot.
People are walking above this station every day.
Oh, they have no idea. In that sense, it is abandoned. Nobody knows it's here.
Hollywood isn't even allowed in. Wow! But the station is said to have inspired the home of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And this is the computer-generated version of it from the Magical Beasts movie. While locked away from passengers, trains still go by this majestic ghost station.
It's very loud.
The City Hall Loop is now used for the 6 train to turn around.
History literally passes by this station every minute or two.
Every minute, and people sit on these 6 trains as they go through this loop and they don't even know what they're passing through.
For a station that once saw thousands of visitors a day, the City Hall station now sees maybe hundreds a year. The New York City Transit Museum does a handful of tours, but otherwise, the only way you'll see this station is on a passing 6 train, staring back into 1904.
Coming up, if you're a foodie looking to travel to a lush paradise, we have the perfect place for you. We'll be right back. In Mexico, one chef is bringing the traditions of Mayan cuisine to the forefront at a luxury resort. And it isn't just about food. They also have the largest tequila collection in the world. We visited them on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula.
In the heart of Mexico, on this lush plantation,
yes, we're picking some beautiful flowers.
Chef Jorge Vallejo tends to his garden and his harvest. Whether grown in the earth or in these ancient planters, it all supplies the bounty of his new restaurant, Ixchin, which means corn in Mayan.
It's the story we want to tell to the people. One of the spinal cords of the Mexican gastronomy or the Mexican culture, it's about corn. So for me, it's a very, I would say, democratic ingredient because it's not about the monetary value. It's all about the flavor, the pureness of the ingredient, and that's why we want us to say, we are corn.
His mission to distinguish a Mayan eating experience by preparing humble ingredients with modern flair.
And cook it from, only from one side.
Like escolar, a buttery fish from the Gulf of Mexico.
Yummy. Here it is.
Proven when I gave it a taste.
These flavors, what are the main line flavors? Look at you just digging it up. Look at you. Oh my God.
Do you feel the smokiness of the fish?
Don't eat all of my fish. This is really good. Jorge, it's delicious.
I hope you enjoyed.
Equally as delicious, the beauty of this setting. Ixchim anchors Chablais, a luxury resort built on the grounds of an old hacienda. His restaurants have become a retreat for global visitors, and Vallejo says recently have been a bridge to Mexico's northern neighbor, the U.S.
I will say 90% of the people that comes into the restaurant are not Mexicans. Actually, we have to give English lessons to our waiters because probably out of that 90%, 60% of the people are Americans.
Ixchim is 45 minutes from Mérida, the Yucatan capital, but it feels like a place from another time.
So this was actually the factory where they made the sisal.
But a 19th century plantation that once produced rope now provides relaxation for its customers and employment for the local community.
So much of this area is influenced by Mayan culture.
It is. It's all about Mayan culture. The people still now these days, they are very proud about their culture. They are very proud about being Mayans. They are actually the ones that keep the tradition. They're the ones that keep the flavors. They're the ones that keep the environment. Mexico is not one thing. If you go to Oaxaca, they have their own traditions, their own flavors, even their own past. It's
with
different.
An African influence.
Yeah.
His own food story started early.
I heard that when you were a kid, instead of toys for Christmas, you would ask for roast chicken.
I can eat chicken and rice every day. I have a 3-year-old daughter. Probably the kids are the most wise people in the world because they live now, the present. For me, being a cook or serving people, it's about that.
That kitchen-obsessed kid who had trouble concentrating in school decided to give cooking a try.
I was just in my own world. I was lucky enough to find something that I can lose myself, which is cooking.
But Ixchim also quenches a thirst for another ancient tradition.
Tequila was born in Mexico, in Tequila, Jalisco.
Luis Ronzon and Luis Alberto Flores Muñoz are experts in tequila.
You don't need to pour that much, but that's a lot for me.
Ixchim has the largest tequila collection in the world, 3,800 bottles strong. Its oldest, the Jose Cuervo, which has been around for 240 years.
If you wanna try a sip,
just a little sip.
Just a little one.
Our Mexican dish would not be complete.
Fire.
Without a lesson in the proper etiquette of tequila sipping. Because tequila, like the cuisine here in this pocket of paradise, is to be savored.
Oh wow, that's very smooth.
Tequila may be really high quality spirit that you can enjoy just as you enjoy cognac.
For Chef Vallejo, the way to honor his Mexican heritage is to bring that Mayan cuisine to the world stage.
And that's what we want to showcase here in the restaurant, the pureness of the ingredients, but how it really works in a luxury ambience.
Mission accomplished. Because Quintanil has been rated one of the top restaurants in the world.
Yes.
Am I wrong about that?
No.
Why are you looking surprised?
No, I feel, very proud about what we achieved already. I'm just, as I told you, I'm still learning. I'm still wanted to do more. So for me, of course, it's, as you're saying, mission accomplished, but still not finished.
You can find more stories like this on CBS This Morning Saturday every weekend. And join us for live news coverage 24/7 right here on CBSN, available for free across all platforms. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'm Michelle Miller.